Let's talk beginner guitars, more specifically beginner guitars built by the two big manufacturers in the world, Taylor Guitars and Martin Guitars, or Martin Guitars and Taylor Guitars, depending on who you think is the number one and would be the first name brand mentioned. Taylor, Martin, Martin, Taylor, doesn't make any difference. This particular video is sponsored by my good friends at Making Music in Frederick, Maryland, who've graciously donated two guitars for me to compare today. The first being a Taylor GS Mini Standard. Standard means it has solid Sitka spruce top and layered sapelli back and sides. It does not have a pickup system in it. The other guitar, since we're talking about the two big manufacturers, is the Martin D Junior or Dreadnought Junior. This particular one does happen to have a pickup. It's the Martin E1 pickup, which I assume is made by Fishman in it. And this particular one retails at $699 because it has the pickup. It'd be $599 if it did not. And the Taylor GS Mini retails for $499. They both come with gig bags, and I'll talk about gig bags in a little bit. The difference between the two, woods-wise, is they're both solid Sitka spruce topped guitars. The difference is instead of layered sapelli back and sides, which is on the Taylor GS Mini, the Martin has solid sapelli back and sides. They both have mahogany or select hardwood necks. Taylor does call it mahogany or neo mahogany. I'm not sure what they mean by neo mahogany. And Martin just calls it select hardwoods. It could be mahogany or it could be another wood that they generally use as necks, but it works just fine. As far as the fretboard and bridge, on the Martin, it is Richlite, which is basically kind of a paper wood product with a lot of resin in it under high pressure. Looks like ebony, reacts like ebony, very stable. That's why they use it. The Taylor GS Mini has that Krelikan ebony. Krelikan is the company that's partially owned by Taylor to be good stewardships of the mahogany growth in Africa. Anyways, the scale length is different as well. On this Martin Junior Dreadnought, it's 24.9 inches long, which means it's slightly longer than a standard Gibson scale length and slightly shorter than a Martin's traditional 25.5. The Taylor GS Mini is a shorter scale length. It is 23.5 inches. A little more comfortable for someone who's smaller of stature, I would think. The nut width, 1 3/4 on the Martin and 1.6975 or 1.6875 on the Taylor, a little bit narrower. If someone has maybe longer, fatter fingers, maybe this is not the guitar. But before we do anything else, let's listen to both guitars so we can hear what they sound like. Okay, from a sound standpoint, they're actually both great sounding guitars. They really are. Both tuned to pitch. They both have medium gauge strings on them. The Taylor GS Mini comes standard with D'Addario XS coated strings in 13 to 56. The reason they ship with a medium gauge string is they need that for string tension. With a lighter set and the short scale, they start to get a little floppy. It'd be easier to play for sure, but you might get some string buzzes and things like that, so they ship them with medium gauge strings. The Martin, instead of having D'Addarios, has their own Martin strings, both, I assume it doesn't say, 13 to 56. They both feel similar, a little bit higher string tension on the Martin because it is a longer scale length, but they both play fine, string action, and these have not been set up other than at the factory. They're both really, really good. I think since most beginners play in the first position, they don't really go much higher than the third fret, maybe the fourth. They're both perfect. I think they sound absolutely terrific. The difference between the two in sound, just to my ears, is that the Taylor GS Mini has more of what we call the Taylor sound, a little more high-end prominence, a little more mid-range prominence, maybe not so much low-end, so very balanced across the spectrum. The Martin, partly because it is a dreadnought shape, although it's smaller than a traditional dreadnought, has some of that low-end, I can't say it's growl, but it has a little more warmth in the low end, a little more scooped in the mids maybe, still has ample highs. Between the two, the Martin Junior Dreadnought has a warmer sound overall, I think, especially when you play with a pick. So, would either one make a great beginner guitar? Yes, absolutely. So how would I go about recommending to someone who goes to a store or their local guitar shop carries both the Taylor GS Mini and the Martin Junior Dreadnought? Which one should they buy? My question would be more, how old is the person who's wanting to learn how to play guitar? If it's a child meaning 5, 6 years old through say 10, maybe 11, a little bit smaller in stature, I would lean them towards the GS Mini because it is smaller overall. It doesn't have the dreadnought shape that requires your elbow to come up a little bit, a little more comfortable, shorter scale length, you won't have to reach as far, slightly narrower nut width. I just think this would be a better guitar for someone who is shorter of stature or smaller of stature. Teenager through young adult or even full-sized adult, probably the Martin. I would lean them towards that. One, mainly because of the nut width, 1 3/4, because if they have larger hands or stubbier fingers, they're going to fit better on that particular one. But both are great guitars. Now, to get to the gig bag that I mentioned earlier, Taylor is known for having great gig bags with all of their low-priced guitars. They're substantial, they look nice, they're that nice tan throughout, inside and out. Not to say anything bad about the Martin gig bag, it is nice, not just as nice as the Taylor is. It has kind of an odd grayish, almost grayish blue color, which is not bad. They're trying to mimic, I think, a black hardshell case. The zipper on the Taylor gig bag is smoother. That's a plus for the Taylor than it is on the Martin. And the top of the gig bag on the Taylor opens up, stays up. You can take the guitar in and out and then manually bring the top down. On the Martin gig bag, I found that I could not keep the top of the gig bag open, leaving it by itself. It kept flopping down, so I would actually have to hold it up while I took the guitar in and out. Not that that's a bad thing. However, I mean, you potentially could get some dings from that. It would just be inconvenient. And I thought the inside color was a little weird, but anyway, that's just me. So my feeling is they're both great guitars. You couldn't go wrong either way recommending the GS Mini or the Junior Dreadnought. And by the way, Martin in their Junior series also makes a 000, which would more, or it'd be better to compare against the GS Mini shape-wise. Making Music just didn't have one for me to borrow this weekend. So if it's a larger person, I would go with the Martin. If it's a smaller person, I would go to the Taylor. What do you think? Maybe you have one or the other or both. For me, if I were going to buy one or the other, I would buy the Martin, just because it's more of that nice warm sound I like, a little easier to sing to because the mids seem a little scooped. more so than on the Taylor, which is very bright, balanced, but they're both great guitars. What do you think? Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, it's Ryan here with Making Music here in Frederick, Maryland. Just want to touch base and let you know a little bit about us. We've been here in Frederick for about 40 years now, specializing in guitars, drums, PA equipment, really anything that you need for a live performance or if you're just starting out. We have a room full of great acoustic guitars, which you may have already seen some or are going to be seeing some, range from Taylors, Martins, wide range of used acoustics as well. We also have a big wall of electric guitars specializing in Ibanez and Paul Reed Smith, a wide selection of used guitars as well. Also PA equipment, speakers, mixers, amplifiers for electrics such as Boss, Vox, Blackstar, a lot of top line names in the business. So please keep us in mind if you have any questions, repair, guitar needs, anything else, music related. We'd love to see you here at the store. Thank you.